Well, happy Sunday, friends. Welcome to another Logic Live. Hello, David. Hello, Jeff. Richard Betts, I couldn't agree with you more. I am looking forward to seeing Brooks today. In fact, I can look right in this little window over here and I can see Brooks. And I'm just as excited as you are. Happy New Year, buddies. Looking forward to the first Logic Live of 2022. I actually have Logic Lives lined up through most of February for you. I can't wait to share that list with you. It's been fun trying to plan out the year. Rex Carter, hello. Christoph, Happy New Year. Jeff, you beat me to it, man. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to take credit for the great levels, but it seems like the preferences survived the jump into 2022. There was no like Y2.2K bug or whatever that flipped that in there. Hello, Renee, and Valentine, and Keith. Chad Warner, how are you, man? And hello, Ralph. Nice to see you all. It is Sunday. It is January the 9th. It is friggin' cold here in the Northeast, although I imagine where Brooks is probably a little bit colder. I saw on the weather, I was talking to someone from Minnesota on Friday, and it was like negative 20 degrees there. And then I do what I always did. I checked to see the temperature on Mars, and it was only negative 14 on Mars. So, there's something to be grateful for. Thank you, Christoph. These are the best levels of the year, I will say that. Sean Sams, how are you, my friend? Randy McEntee. Oh, I'm getting ready to do the dissolve, buddy. First one for the year. This is going to set the tone, I think, for the whole year. Huh? Right? You know what, Randy? It's only downhill from here. Hey, everybody. My name's Andy. Welcome to Logic Live. Happy New Year to everyone. We're here with Brooks Tomlinson today. Let's get this party started. Quickly, before one of my cats needs to come into the guest room, this episode of Logic Live is brought to you by Synesys.io, solutions development, integration, and support, supporting flame artists since 1997. Want to thank our friends at Synesys for their continued support of the Logic community. And thank you to our friends at AJA for continuing to support Logic Live. AJA and Flame together since 2006. Anybody out there need tech support? Call Jack. Jack Horrocks, Jack at flametech.com.au. He's amazing, he's wonderful, and he's there to solve all of your technical problems, flame networking, storage, or custom builds. Want to thank Jack. Jack threw in some free tech support for our One Frame of White winner this year, as he's done in the past. He's just a wonderful, wonderful person. And if you need anything, or if anything isn't working, give Jack a buzz. And if anyone needs anything in the world of plugins, you know that Boris FX makes the best plugins on earth. And you can use the Logic.tv discount code to save yourself 15% on any Boris FX product, standalone or subscription, when you use the code Logic-15 at checkout. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, check out the Logic merch store if you haven't already. We've added some new items. There's a new zip-up hoodie available. Just go to Logic.tv and you'll click on the merch button at the top. We got hats, in case you hadn't noticed. Hats will be featured prominently in this episode of Logic Live. Logic hats, that is. We have winter hats available in black and white. We have baseball hats available in the snapback and dad cap variants, even though I guess that's a word you're not supposed to use. It's another word they robbed from us. In English language, we can't say variants anymore, right? Available in black and white. Want to thank our patrons on Patreon. The number keeps growing. We are up to, believe it or not, 105 patrons right now. And Randy and I want to thank you all from the bottom of our hearts for helping to support what we're doing here with Logic. We couldn't do it without you. If you'd like to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/LogicTV. We have 3 different tiers of support, and they get you different things like exclusive content, like the Q&As that we have after each Logic Live episode, plus some great discounts and some merch. Patreon.com/LogicTV. Want to give a shout out to the Logic Hive Minds. We had a wonderful Logic Hive Mind session in the fall. Great reviews from everybody who participated, and we're going to start a new one up on January 16th. For those of you who don't know, the Hive Minds are small 4 to 6 person groups that meet weekly over the course of 8 weeks. We'll pair you up with peers and a mentor that will provide you the support, experience, knowledge, network, and accountability you need to help you on your journey. If there's someplace you'd like to go, we can help you out. Check out logic.tv/hivemind for more information and to sign up. Again, that new session starts January the 16th. Finally, I want to give you an update on the forum. forum stats. There we go. Randy, we did it almost. We broke 1,000 users with 1,010. I know you want us to get to 1,024 because without that, there's nothing. We're up to 1.4 million page views on the forum, 13,000, it's actually 13.2 thousand posts as checked right before the show, and 252 users on Discord. I want to thank everybody for all their involvement on Discord. It's become a great place for real-time conversation. And we've done some great screen shares. Artists have gone on and done. Shared their flame screen and just kind of like talked to whoever logged on and described what they were doing. It's the closest thing to hanging out that I think we're going to get for a little while. Unfortunately, I'm just waiting to get clearance on the footage, but I think I'm going to do a live Discord next week. I will let everybody know as soon as I can. But if you want to be a part of the conversation, go to forum.logic.tv, click on the Discord link, and Jeff or Eddie will let you in. Also want to give a shout out to our newest Logic Academy classes. We have 3 of them that we added in the last couple of months. There's a 2-parter on the image node done by our very own Jeff Kyle. Part 1 is an overview of the image node workflow, and part 2 goes into workflows for beauty, color grading, and just some extra tips and tricks. Jeff is really, really good at pointing out like the gotchas that you're going to run into, especially when you're trying to learn a whole new workflow. Check that out. Also, Randy did what everyone thought was impossible, and that was he condensed the entirety of color management down into an 8-minute video with 8-minute aces. If you're intimidated by color management, and you should be, definitely check this out. It'll get you started and answer all of your important questions, and you'll learn what Randy calls the one rule to rule them all. Randy also took out the time to make an intro to NDI. NDI is a way to stream your Flame session over the internet or over a network. It's built right into Flame as of the last couple of releases. And Randy shows you how to do that and also how to use various either iOS apps or things like that to kind of get the most out of the streaming experience. In case you haven't noticed, this ain't going anywhere, the streaming thing. So it's a really valuable tool. I want to thank Randy for that. That's the image node and 8-minute aces and intro to NDI. Available now. In addition to the class on Connect to Conform that Jeff did, we're working on a few new Logic Academy installments that should be out in the next month. Thank you to Autodesk for sponsoring this content. While we're talking about Autodesk and content, I want to give a shout out to Grant K. Grant has been churning out a whole series of Flame fundamentals video content. It's an incredibly rich set of videos for anyone who's starting out new on Flame. The most recent one is on color grading, and so thank you, Grant, for for answering the call of doing whatever we can to get more people into the Flame lifestyle, I guess is the best way to describe it. That is the opening slideshow, and so what I'm going to do now is bring my guest on. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him. If you don't know him or love him, you will by the end of this episode. He is the immensely talented Brooks Tomlinson. Brooks, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. So many kind words, I don't know what to do with them. So appreciate that. I do know, though, being the first one in 2021, I get to set the bar. And so I can set it wherever I want.
That's it, dude. And you know what? I think I'm gonna quote like Randy, as Randy said so lovingly when I said that I did a perfect dissolve here for opening the show. Good enough. And I think that's really what I'm always. That's what that's the bar I always try to set is good enough.
Right.
Because you can
don't
go
have
so
to be up here.
Exactly right. So I know Brooks is going to do some shot breakdowns for us on a couple of spots that he worked on. I think it was last year, and I was so happy to see the stuff that you wanted to show today, because I remember like when we first met on Logic, you were just getting into these spots, and you were kind of like in real time. You were taking us through, like you were asking for help. Hey, I've hit some bumps, and it was really like a. I mean, I know for me, and I'm sure for Randy, as putting together the community and the forum, it was kind of like the perfect, example of what Logic really was always meant to be, which was a place for Flame artists to feel free to ask their questions, get some help, get some answers, grow, and then, doing what you're doing now, which is just giving back and paying it forward. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about the spots? I have them here I can show too, but.
Yeah, it was a year ago. I had just gone from working at a facility, then the big dip where no one worked, and then 2021 started happening up, and I was like, okay, like I was a solid mid. Didn't have a lot of experience working with a bunch of different other people. Like Grant K and FX PhD trained me, and so like I was a little nervous because like I was going out my own, but I had the Logic community and whatnot to like lean out on, and they're like, "Hey, we got the 3 weeks worth of work." Well, I was like, 3 weeks, that's awesome, woohoo! Because I've been getting 1 or 2 days here and there, and like it's set extensions. Okay, set extensions, done those before, no problem. And green screening or filling in, screens. I was like, sweet, I'm really good at that. And then I get the videos, and I'm like, oh no, I might be out of my depth here. Oh well, I'll fake it till I make it. So, and that's what I did, and I made it just fine. Thanks, I mean, not blowing any smoke, but thanks in part to the Logic community for sure. So, and I'll touch on a couple parts where I was actually stuck, and people helped me on the weekend. So,
Sweet. I know we've all been in that boat where like, you're handed something, you're like, well, this isn't going to be that big of a deal. And then you dive in and it's just like, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And then you have to like, you've reached rock bottom because now you've seen the truth and you just have to kind of claw your way out of it one piece at a time. But let's dive in. Should I show the first of the two spots? Is there anything?
Sam spot, please. Yes.
You got it. It's almost like, like when we're like on the Tonight Show and I'm going to roll a clip and then we're going to talk about it. Right? All right, here it comes. First spot.
Owning a business comes with pressure. There's a limit to what I can do and still keep employees engaged. Fortunately, there's Insperity.
They expand my HR capabilities exponentially, helping me with hiring and training while offering my employees competitive benefit options. Since I can focus on other priorities, my staff can thrive and my business can grow. With Insperity, nothing seems impossible.
All right. Lovely.
Cool. Yeah, definitely we should. I like whose line it is, anyways, and I
oh yeah. I just want to tell everybody that when Brooks and I were doing the run through, right, we were riffing off of each other, and I think Brooks brought up is like, this reminds me of like my favorite show, Whose Line Is It Anyway? So what we decided to do is I'm going to assign random points to all of the things, like all the little skills and tricks and tips and everything that Brooks is going to show. And then at the end of Logic Live here, whoever puts the correct number of points in the chat will win themselves a piece of Logic merch. So everybody, sharpen your pencils, get your paper ready, and here we go. All right, Brooks, I'm going to turn it over to you, my friend.
Well, thank you, Andy. I appreciate that greatly. So you saw it in the spot, that first commercial. So I was given this plate here as the plate because the wall's falling down, and that's dangerous. We don't want actors where the wall falls down. And then I was given, yeah, I was given this plate as what I got to combine it to, and the director did not have a motion rig or anything like that, so he tried to match the two together, and bless his heart, he just didn't even come close.
It's one of my favorite things. They say like, we don't have money for motion control, so we're just going to do poor man's motion control. And poor man's motion control is just you. You're the poor man who has to like line these up. Oh my God, we've all been there.
And you can see like here on the left side here, and the right side, you can see how far these go. And this is the Matchbox, the Autodesk built-in line split Matchbox AB, and it puts it in there for you, and you can even like add a little line automatically. I just found that for this demo, so I was like, this is sweet. So
yeah, I had never seen that before, dude. So I'm going to kick off the points. I'm going to award Brooks 345 points for showing us the line trick there, the line Matchbox. Congratulations.
So what I basically did was like just analyzed each part of what I had to do. I was like, okay, for here I need to get rid of that move and just reverse stabilize it. And then I sent out for roto to get the roto, and I'll just walk you guys through the shot. I first started on some basic cleanup. I had to remove just different parts through it, and then I had to extend this wall out. And I first tried doing an extended by cubic and moving it, so I just wasn't quite happy with the way it looked, but I had a nice mat, so I grabbed the color source, regrained it, and then color corrected it to match as the wall fall. And I do that shortcut a lot because it's quick and because I don't have to like get a really good track because it's just a foreground object and it just moves through as it falls. And that was the first part of this, and to kind of like clean up and get everything ready. And then I'm like, okay, now I've got to go through and do the stabilization. And Sean's Logic 43 was like my guiding light in this. Like it just came up at the right time, and he had like talked about 3D integration and 3D tracking and owning it, and so I was just like, that's what I could do. I'm gonna own this, and I'm gonna take it over. And so the first thing I did is because I had mats. And it's actually my first time with RGB mats too. I'd normally just gotten normal everyday white mats. Um, and I'll go in later in another example of exactly how the reverse stabilization works. But you can see where the yellow lines is. That's where the camera move was. So now I have them in a position to where I can now place them wherever I need to in space, and they're no longer moving around. So then it just became a matter of grabbing all the people, and then I really looked at this shot, and I realized that the wall falls down, and these two people in the background don't really move all that much. And if they do, it's all hidden up by the wall falling down until they come down. So it's like I can save myself a lot of effort and just do a still frame and regrain it and pull. So pulled out the feet and pulled out the different various parts of the person, and then I had to stabilize and pull out the papers. And then so now I'm like, okay, I got everything down, and I will pull it in to the final. And I tried every which way. Like I tried the tracker, the player tracker, Mocha tracker. Like I consider myself really good at Mocha, not Jeff level good, but we're really good. And I just could not, for the life of me, get a stable all the way through track. And like I should be able to, no problem. And at that time, I was on the beta, and I worked production in the beta. Someone called me crazy for that, but I'm like, I have direct communication to the developers. Why would that be crazy? And so I used the slam tracker, and I kid you not, Andy, it was literally a one click track, and it got everything I needed. So you can see all the so this is right after the slam tracker tracked. And so I just refined it, and it got me into.
Oh, hey Brooks, can you zoom in on your on the schematic half of that screen a little bit tighter?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So it got me to where you can see I now have a plate or a floor object of the top of the desk, and you can see that it just tracked through the floor object, and then it's like new ground Copernicus. Like I'm no longer like having to get a little track and then place it and then score it. Like now I'm just like putting things in 3D space and just moving it in Z until it looks good and adjusting it a little bit. And I was like, oh man, this is great. And so I just went through and did a little by cubicles, but literally just placed them in and their tabletops and their replacement. And you can see like they're placed in different Z axes. And because it was a full 3D track, it did like half the work for me. Like after I got the track, which is what everyone always says, It's a good track, and half the work is already done for you.
Yep.
And so then I had um, to recombine my mats and brought that in later, and you can just see where the track was to where they were, and then they're like, "Hey, you forgot that guy in the background," and this is what I love about Node-based. So it's like, okay, so just stole it and popped him in there real quick, and it was like nothing really happened because I already had the track. It was just placing him in there, and everything was good to go. And if I had done it other different ways, it would have been a lot more complicated.
It's excellent. I
So
think you brought up so many like firsts when you were describing this. Like you said, this was the first time you really dealt with Roto that came back in like RGB format, right? It was really the first time you used 3D tracking, and like it. I love this story, Brooks, because it perfectly illustrates like how flame artists grow and learn. Because now going forward, you're always going to think about that. You're always going to look at a shot and say to yourself, like, well, can I get a camera track on this? It'll take a minute, and when it's done, look what I have.
right.
Things like that.
So this was another
Oh, and I'm
shot.
sorry,
Oh,
if you could just go
we
back.
sorry.
I wanted to ask if anybody had any questions. I wanted to throw another 58 points at you because, like, this was a shot. You said, the way you decided to put those people back on top, it's like every one of these kind of projects looks like a nightmare, or especially something like this. It looks like an insurmountable nightmare, like with a million problems to solve. But like compositing is nothing more than the sum of its parts. And I love how you were able to look at this and say to yourself, like, well, if I stabilize, the back plate, then all I really need to do is put these people on top because they never really cross out of their little, I want to say square because you had to roto them, but you know what I mean. Like their boundaries, and using the screen kind of as the boundaries. And then like it looked like the beginning, I think you said that they were frozen. So you realized real quick you didn't need to roto all however many frames. You only needed to roto the portions that you needed. It's a wonderful kind of illustration of how Flame Artist learns to look at things for, each little thing for what it is. And then very quickly, the insurmountable task just becomes like a list, and you keep crossing things off that list. And at the end, you have a beautiful shot. So congratulations, man. I want to give you a round of applause for that. And then just check and see if anybody has any questions.
Your points really don't matter, do they?
They do not. They do not. But my words do.
They're always close to my heart. Oops.
Thank you. Thank you. Like a fresh pile of potato skins, they're close to your heart always. All right. Which reminds me, I have to call my cardiologist. It doesn't look like anybody has any questions. You want to move on to the next shot?
Yeah. Can you roll the Craig clip, please?
Yes, coming your way. This is the other spot in the package called... Oh, wait, we do have one from Hardave.
Yeah.
That says, how did you do the stabilization?
That is what's coming up next. I'm actually going to walk through it. So
Thank you, Hardave. All right, here comes the Craig spot.
Running a business comes with pressure. Remote workforces, HR compliance, retaining top talent. You start to feel boxed in. Fortunately, there's Insperity. They put 30 plus years of HR experience to work, lightening my HR load while offering competitive benefit options to my employees. So instead of obstacles, I'm surrounded by people, empowered to be their best. With Insperity, nothing seems impossible.
There we go. All right.
So this first clip out of the gate is definitely a tale of something that they're like, well, if we can get to it, so be it. And while I was waiting for Roto and I was waiting for different things to come back, I was like, I'll just play with it. And the deal with they had take after take where he did not hit correctly to fill this up, and he just couldn't get it. And so I literally did the solve because I was fresh off of Logic 43, and then I also was like, hey Renee, can you walk me through that? And I was able to use the stabilization to pull. I used extended by cubics to pull those out, and then in literally it was like a 15-minute solve to where it was there, and I was able to just it looks like now he's hitting the part, and I will walk through very quickly the reverse stabilization part. So here is our clip, and
Hey, Brooks, I'm sorry. Could you just
Yep.
zoom into the schematic on the left
Certainly,
side?
my
Yeah,
apologies.
no worries.
All right,
Thank you,
so
man.
here's our clip, and so when you're looking for stabilization, you're looking for the. I always start at the area with the most detail, and currently this is the end, and I set with a media one and an action. And so now I'm going to put a G mask around this area because that's what I want to work on. And so when the G mask tracks it, where the G mask is, once I show you the uh, stabilize button, is where it's going to stabilize. So you click on the axis, tracking in the axis, switch it to planar. I always do lighting and occlusion. Oop, I got an auto save. Stand by. And see, F8, and I snap. So now you can see what's going to be tracked, and then I analyze backwards, and so now it's tracking that area. Okay, so the track looks pretty good. And so now I hide this G mask, and then I connect it to my axis here. And you go into the axis, and then there's this invert button that will then make you can now see it was moving off the screen before. You can now see that it is centering around that G mask that I just tracked. So I always make sure that I can undo what I did. So I like to duplicate with keep connections because it just saves me a step. And so now you duplicate that action, and then you take the output of the other action and you step into this action. And so you go into this axis and you turn off invert. So now when you look at where you were to this action, you can see that everything, oh, and I connect back to the original plate. You can see that everything looks good. It looks like everything's going good. And now what you have in between here and here is a stabilized plate. Between these 2 points is you have a stabilized plate where you can just work on it. Now, a good rule of thumb is to just, once you're done, mask out the only part that you've worked on. But for this demo, that's just an extra step that we don't need to do. But now I can go in and just work with extended by cubics, and I can just find where it's the most, and I can set my surface extended by cubic, and I like to enter auto adjust it so I don't have to keep adjusting these tangents, because without auto adjust on, when you move the tangents, they don't adjust. So I turn auto adjust on, and then I turn it to move UV vertices. So then I just kind of like to get it nice and close. You don't have to do this step. I just like to do it because it makes just moving overall in general easier for me. So now I subdivide this till I get enough subdivisions, and then I can just click this area. I can move it. Whoops, I got to turn off UT vertex. Back to the move tool. Move it to the left. Take this area, move it to the right. So you can see that real quickly, I was just able to just move those out real quick. And then so you can see now through the whole entire process, it's there. And when we go back to our pre-checked stabilized plate, You can see that it's moved out, and now he's hitting there. There's, of course, some cleanup you need to do, but the overall brunt of the work was done, and you don't have to paint a new plate and track it onto the old plate and put everything over there. You're just working in the one area, and it's just so much faster. So,
Brooks,
that
the
was
chat
one-
is going wild, man.
So, all right. That was one thing that I've been trying to do is like when I started out Flame, I consider myself a brute force. And I've been trying to do more 2D stabilization, reverse stabilization, things like Renee's Obliterate, just things that like make flame artists, And so just trying to up my game that way. And it's been a long progression. It's just funny, like when I look at what I did this a year ago to where I am now, I'm like, wow, I'm doing pretty good. So
That's awesome, man. I just want to share with you some of the feedback.
sure.
Jeff says, I love doing that workflow with Mocha too, but you make it look pretty easy using it just in Flame.
Mm-hmm.
Quinn says, well done. I got a nice work from Kieran Baxter. Yeah, praise from R. McEntee at McEntee.org. Ha ha ha, it's such a dirty, rotten, sneaky trick, which is high praise. And Christoph even says that the way that you show this is really, really slick. So congratulations, man. I think it's an excellent solution. I think you also showed like the magic of that reverse stabilization, or that of stabilizing something. Again, like when you see that water cooler moving across the frame, the first thing your mind does is it goes, oh God, there's a perspective change, and I'm going to have to rebuild everything in 3D, and this is going to be a multi-layered problem. This is going to take 10 hours to do, and I'm going to probably need CG, and it's just like blah. But you learned that what you really need to do is stabilize that part. Once you stabilize that part, it doesn't move. And once it doesn't move, you can use a little extended bicubic, and you can finish something in 15 minutes and bill your client for 4 hours for it. So we're going to, and then also end up being the hero, which is like the greatest position for any flame artist to be in, is to swoop in, save the day. And that's the way they call you. Like once you do that, then like you're on speed dial. They'll call you back again and again and again. So congratulations, man. That was a great execution for a little trick like that.
Yeah.
And
they didn't think it could be done either, too. That was the best part. And they're like, "Oh, we did it!" It was like one of those extra things.
Yep, totally. Before you move on to the next shot, we did get a question on the previous one, with the wall coming down from Kieran, wondering. So the restoring of the wall, where you had to extend that part of the wall that was closest to camera, was it mostly a regrained color solid? Or was it actual wall footage?
That's all it was just so here's the solid, here's the regrain, and then I just had to color correct it to match. And so I had already made, because I tried with an extended, one of my dirty tricks too is just like when I got to extend something, I'll take extended bicubics and just move it down. And that didn't work, but I had this mat that was there already, so I just used a color solid to make the wall, and then just color corrected with this color correct node here as it went down to match. And I did it with those bloody 2x4s right there too. And I didn't have to track them or whatnot. I just could do a roto mat. I don't have to track an exact object on it, and it worked great.
That's awesome. I was going to award you some points for the stabilization. I wanted to give you 1,789 points, because 1789, of course, is the year that George Washington was inaugurated. It was also the year of the storming of the Bastille. And somewhere in between there is Great Praise and Sneaky Tricks, which is kind of like, the run of the comments in here. So I also want to give you 143 points just randomly for that trick with the grain. There were a couple of comments on that shot that you just showed with the wall coming down before we move on to the Craig spot. Renee was wondering, did you do any relighting on the wall for shadows, or did it not need that?
It didn't need it. So
cool.
I've done that in the past, and other shots that we're not going to show today, I had to do that. And there actually is a little relighting in the next one that's coming up, or to try to match, because the wall did change. But this one didn't need it at all.
Sweet. And there's one more comment on here, again from Randy. That's another sneaky trick. I don't think I would have thought of that. Thinking of something that Randy wouldn't have thought of. also will earn you some bonus points. I just want to say.
Yes!
So I'm going to throw you another, just randomly, like 1,556 points for thinking of something that Randy didn't come up with. So congratulations. And we're racking up the meaningless points. And why don't we move on to the next shot?
All right. So, fresh off of Logic 43, he shot. I'm going to reference that a lot. So, yeah,
Jeff level good and fresh off of Logic 43 are the two takeaway, like the two hashtags for this episode. Absolutely.
and and so I went through and did what I needed for my roto, just in the still frame, so that way I would get back without having to go back and forth what they needed, because at that time I had actually never sent out for roto myself. It always been someone else had done it, or I just did the roto myself. So just going through and breaking through the shot. So this one was the one that I was like, okay, I can do this, because it was a set extension real time reverse. So you could see here that here's the foreground plate, and what the gag was is everything in this commercial is going in reverse. And so this is my background plate that I had to work with, but I had to do it in reverse. So, I mean, they did a really great practical set where things collapsed and fell down and moved. And so the challenge that I had to do was actually to make this match up with his move that he had here, and fix the seams in the wall and a little bit of spill and everything like that. And I was like, okay, all right. And I looked and so I started playing with it on the timeline, just to kind of like, all right, own it. Okay, I can own it. Thank you, Logic 43, Sean. And so the first thing I did was, I've got to get the timing of the wall down. So I played on the timeline because it was a little more interactive to figure out what was going on. And I realized that the left wall and the right wall move at different speeds because there's humans pulling them out. And so if I play it, you can see that the left one moves slightly different than the right one. And my plate moves exactly at the same rate. So now I had to line them up and make it in such a way that the walls all move. So I'm like, okay, so I'm going to have to completely do a mat on the left-hand wall, completely break out the right-hand wall and the back wall. So what I was able to end up doing was, through a bunch of different time, just one time warp and then a little bit of 2D movement, I was able to see where his hand pushes. I was able to, on the left-hand wall there, match it up so that as it pushes out, it slid out with the original wall. And then I'm like, okay, I got that. I can do that. And then I had to do the same process for the right wall, which had a little more funky of a slide. And I had to, you can see here, I had to move it so that the wall matched the timing of the two walls as it slid out. So then once I got my timing done, I also did all my wall matting pre-time warp, just in case I had to fix the timing or they wanted it faster or whatnot. I wouldn't like have to redo all my wall mats because it's on the original footage. So the mat, when I re-time warp it, it will just match. I've come across that problem before where I did a time warp and did a lot of roto and then had to do my roto again.
Oh, we've all been there.
Never again.
Oh, yes.
Never again. So this shot starts out, so I had that feeling good. So now I started taking care of some basics where I had roto of the floor, and I just had to get rid of the dollies and the tracks in the floor with a carpet. And this shot was a little bit easier because it was a lockdown, so there's lots of great easy tricks that you can do. And then I had to extend the wall out. You can see here that the wall came here, and I just took the wall, still frame of the wall, and painted and extended it out. And then this was just a straight up planer track. And I just planer tracked the new wall with the seam onto it, so I no longer had the ends of the wall on it. And then I did a little painting, and then I brought in a little more shadow here. Renee, I had to do lighting shadow on this wall to sort of match the light continuity that came through the wall. And so now I have the majority. I have the left and the wall, right wall set, and my carpet set. So now I have to work on the back wall. This stupid back wall. It was part of what was hard. So then halfway through this, I'd gotten some um, I'd gotten some 3D geometry from um, for my mats to, because I was just working with temp mats because I knew I was going to get 3D geometry. And I I'd worked with distorted and undistorted before a little bit where I did it on my own, or I was given plates that were already undistorted. This was the first time I kind of really had to do it on my own, and I didn't think it was but I hit a wall and I just could not figure it out. And I posted on Logic, and Chris Nolan on the weekend said, "Hey, I'll help you out." And I sent it to him, and he kind of like sent me back a batch, and he walked me through and labeled how I was supposed to go through it. And like I was pretty much stuck thinking I was just going to have to roto myself. And because he was able to help me through the redistort process, it saved me a lot of time because I was able to steal these perfectly matched seams at the end of the roto on the left and the right wall. And no points for that. Chris helping us out.
You know what? I'm going to award Chris through you 2,764 points.
Oh man, Chris, you just hit the mother.
Honorary worthless points.
And so I looked and looked and looked at the back wall. I'm like, I'm just going to make a still of it and move it back through. So I just went through the process of building out, creating, and just basically making the back wall till it filled my whole entire area. And as the wall moves in, you can see that the lighting will change on the bottom. So I had to basically recreate that lighting effect on the wall to help it change. And then I brought in the original back wall, but this is just to help make it through. And I brought in some more lighting to help it blend.
How did you do the lighting on the wall?
Just a GMAS tracer, white, and moving it through. And then this was like a paint node, so I had two different walls that had different areas that I pulled back in from the wall and made it bigger. And so I kind of like painted, lighted, and GMAS traded so I could make the wall fit. And then it was just a matter of taking. I mean, this is the longest part, but it's the easiest part to demo because I just took all the bits and pieces that I had and put them together. The left wall and its various parts, the right wall and its various parts, and then my back wall and its various parts till I could have it come all the way together. And I was never quite happy with the back wall, but the colorist was like, "Hey, give me the matte of that back wall," and like, so in the final, it looks much better than what I've got here, and um, this is what it when it comes all together, and like the getting the hands took so long because I had to go through and I got roto, but it was really good. But I had to go through and individually steal different shadows and GMash trace the shadow
Oh,
and pull it, so that way I could just get it because like it didn't look right, it didn't feel real until I had that shadow connection on the wall the exact same as how when he had it, because otherwise it looked odd
yeah.
until I got the shadows off. And then this lamp, that lamp, like the lamp took me more time than anything because you could see it's in it's in here and it's in here. It did not need to be in here. So like, because I could just composite it back over, but like I had to do a lot of work on because the timing of the way the background came in and the foreground came in was different. So I had to completely remove the lamp and then completely put it back in and then repaint his face where it had gone over it a little bit and make it kind of match. And that was a a lot more work than it needed to be if they just not had the lamp in one of those shots.
Yep. You can say that about so much in this, you know. It really
Yeah,
could you just do a fit all on your schematic just for a second just to see how like
certainly.
insanely like complex this became. What started as like two plates and a render node, you know.
So that's odd. Where's the
There we are. Oh no, on the schematic.
oh, on the schematic?
Yeah. I just love that. Again, this started as two plates and a render node, or maybe a color management node. And look what it's slowly like spread. You know what I mean? Like you can see it's like a little, well, I don't want to say it's like a virus, but because you can't do that. But I did.
Spider
See what I
web.
did? It's
Yes.
amazing. I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with these kind of projects. I mean, I see, and I can even see in the chat here, it's like everybody does, where you look at something, you're like, okay, all I really need to do is this. And then every problem you solve reveals another problem that you have to solve, until finally you get to the finishing touches, the things like the shadow,
Yeah.
the contact shadows on the wall and, all the little color shifts you had to do on the plates and things like that. Amazing. I got a bunch of questions for you in the chat.
Yeah.
Renee
Bring
wants
it
to know
on.
how long did it take for you to do this shot?
I had to pick up and put down, but overall, it was um, 3.5 days for this shot over the course of everything. But it was like I would get to a certain point and then my rotor wasn't back or whatnot. And then there were so many shots in these two commercials because I was first hired as just one sole artist. And and then they're like, okay, well, we're gonna get you more artists. And so I was like, okay. And they brought Mari Rosenpill and Molly Tomek in to help me. I was like, that's great. And then it's like, oh, here's your artist. And I'm like, okay. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, he's gonna assign them. We're gonna figure it out. And he's like, oh, no, no, no. I have to do I have to give them everything and do everything because I'm the lead of flame artist here. I was like, all right, I can do this because I'm a gamer and I've run raids before.
Yep.
So,
Yep. And your
so
producer is like a enchanted tree in the back that's just going like this and healing everybody, right? As long as the raid
yeah,
goes on.
yeah. So because like it's really funny how much it is just like running a raid. And, like the two things like cross and like because my raid group is in Australia, Dubai, California, and Murray's in California. Molly was in New York. These guys are in Chicago, and all the things that I did for running the raid, like for time management, carried over 100%. So I was like, that be a lesson, parents. Gaming
That's
is
it.
good. Yep.
Yes, exact. Gaming is good. Moses wanted to know, the schematic looks crazy. How long did it take you to do this one you already answered. It was about 3.5 days to do the wall comp. There were a couple more in here. Kieran Baxter was wondering, did you do shoot supervision?
No, I was not. I was just the hired guy after the shot had already been done or whatnot. So because basically they were unable to find their first and second, third pick, so then they had me. So because it was a lower budget but a high end shoot, so I don't know, but it worked out
Those
in
are our
my
favorite.
favor. Yeah,
Totally. And then I think a great summation here by our friend Brian, who I've never seen without a beard, by the way, until this image, said that this is kind of just figure it out, and that's what flame artists do best. And I couldn't agree more. There's a part of me that wants to assign some points to this picture of Brian Bailey. Nothing major, just maybe like 2,345 points for Brian Bailey's beardless profile picture. Let's see. The accolades are rolling in, man. David Kreitz says great solutions to the problems. Maury, the aforementioned Maury, says you did a fine job, and that's high praise.
Thanks for
I'm going to assign you 1 point, one final winning point of congratulations for that. And love from Renee that you jammed on this, and Kieran again with a lovely bit of practical VFX. This was great. Adonis says here you had a little bit of help from the shooting crew, which means not a lot of help. There are a million things that could have been done differently to make life easier for you, but really like an amazing job there, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Are there any questions or anything that someone wanted me to tap into deeper or whatnot, or what video games are the best?
There was one question. I think it was Adonis was asked. Was the green screen behind the actor there? Was that any help at all, or did you end up just like rotoing him completely?
It was help for while I was waiting for Roto to come back in. So the Roto, we told them I don't know if the Roto people did or did not use it, but for me, while I was waiting for it to come back in, it was help because I just had a loose of him, and I didn't have to like do a lot more Roto, work on it, and so it helped there. But in general, no. so they did the Roto overall, but I mean, it's better to have him there because there's multiple lights and the shadows as things pull out. So I didn't have to end up faking any of that kind of on his arms or whatnot. So, because the whole premise of this commercial was that they wanted everything to be practical, minus a couple things where in other shots you saw that there was CG ads, and that's where Mari helped out and doing the comps on that. And then the guys at Almost Gold who hired me, great people at Almost Gold, they did the CG for it, and it just kind of all worked out. Luckily, because they were kind of nervous about how the client was going to react to it. But then, like, after we showed them the first, and the client was like, "Hey, this is great," he was like, all of a sudden, like, I could tell that nervous, like, put on the gas pressure that they had went away. They're like, "Okay, we're going to make it, so this is good."
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's always like a watershed, like a huge moment of relief, like, and then everyone's just motivated because we're going to get it done, so we're just going to plow through.
Yeah.
A very important question here. This is kind of a make or break moment here. Moises wanted to know Horde or Alliance. Any?
I play Destiny.
Oh, all right. Well, for the Alliance, Moises is what I'm going to say. Now you know where I stand on that there. And Randy just wanted to know what the hell a raid was. But Randy, we're going to save that for the patrons Q&A immediately following the show. Ralph was wondering about the tracker for the first falling shot was in beta. It's just you were using beta in production, but that's the new camera analysis tracker that's available in the 2022 release.
And it's really great, guys. Like, I highly suggest that. It's miles different from the old camera tracker. Like I'm not a 3D tracking guy, and I really suggest get in there and start playing with it because it is miles better. And when I was doing this, I was using beta software because I'm crazy like that. And the SLAM had just been released, so I couldn't use it with anyone else or whatnot. And so, but it literally saved my bacon. So the SLAM, the new camera analysis mode.
Michael was just wondering, did you get the geometry separately from the roto, or was it included?
Because everything had to have CG added to it or some of it. They sent out the for 3D track of all the scenes and for roto for different parts of the scenes. So my 3D tracks and rotos were provided from my external company.
Oh, cool.
Except for that one, the reason why I had to do that SLAM checker, on the first one, is because the 3D track I got back from them was slipping as well. So the Mocha, that's why I had no recourse, because I was waiting for the 3D track to come back and it slipped too. So I was just like, oh man, what am I gonna do? So yeah. It's
nail. Nice. Brooks, before first I just want to say thank you. This was amazing. Thank you for taking us through all this. Thank you for all the work that went into prepping this. And as a special token of appreciation, I want to share with you. I'm going to be sending you our newest bit of merch here from the Logik TV store. It's the I'm Jeff Level Good mug. So keep an eye on your mailbox for that. That's definitely coming your way from the fine people at Logik Live. So thank you. And yeah, we're getting, again, the accolades are just rolling in the chat. Renee says, I'm so impressed with how far you've come. I could see you were a gem when I first saw your reel. Thank you. It's great to see your talents and great to see you doing it live. And great job from David Kreitz. A great job all around. Thanks, man. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Let's say we give away some prizes. What do you think?
Sounds good.
All right. Let me just reset myself here. That's better. Okay. I have a couple of things to give away here. The first is I'm going to be giving away a couple pieces of Logik merch. I'm going to give everyone their choice of a hat or a mug. Hat because it's cold out, but a mug also because it's cold out. There's nothing more kind of soothing to the stressed out flame artist than to sip on a cup of just warm hot cocoa while you're waiting for your SLAM 3D camera analysis to cache. So let me spin the wheel here. Well, let me spin the wheel here. John Semrod, is John here? If you're here, John, raise your hand. Because I do want to start giving these prizes away to people who are here. I don't see John. I'm going to spin one more time. Unfortunately, I don't see Rex. Rex, if you're here, raise your hand. We're going to do one more. I don't see Evgeny here either. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll start this. They'll start this tradition next time around. So we'll just go one more. Let's see. Hardave is here. Congratulations, man. All right, congratulations, Hardave. And one more time. Chad Warner. Oh, Rex is here. All right, cool. Wonderful. So I've got Rex, and I've got Hardave, and now I'm going to go ahead and give away a license of optics. Actually, I'm going to give away a license of optics. Let's do that. To Valentine. Oh, it went to Steve. I'm sorry, Steve, you got the optics. That was so close. Valentine, you'll have to try next time around. But you know what I would like to do? If anybody has been keeping if anybody has been keeping track of points, please put the point total of the completely worthless points that I put in the chat, that I gave to Brooks, rather, put them in the chat. And if anybody gets that number right, they're getting themselves a piece of Logic merch. Let me just jot down that Steve is getting the optics. Let's see. Oh, the numbers are rolling in here. We've got 39. So, David Kreitz, ladies and gentlemen. David has the right number. The winning number is 9,001. Congratulations, David. You too are going to get your choice of a hat or mug from the Logic merch store. Let me bring this back here to us. Brooks, was there any significance to 9,001 points?
Over 9,000, which is a Dragon Ball Z reference.
Nice. So. Love it. All right, man. Congratulations again. Thank you for everything
for having me. I
you've
really
done
appreciate
today.
it.
This went great.
No,
and,
Andy, thank you for Logic Live. For real. So.
My pleasure. I love doing this. Let's bring it home, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to bring this back up to this right here and talk about what's coming up next on Logic Live. Well, we already did that. Maybe this year I'll remove that slide. So upcoming Logic Live sessions. Here we go. Next Sunday, January 16th at 2, Abel Milanese is going to show off his one frame of white entry. That was the one with the Logic car. So if you're curious at all about doing some lighting with IBL and just everything he put into that, definitely tune in next week. The following Sunday, January 23rd, we're going to have Rufus Blackwell on. We're doing that at 12 p.m. because Rufus is in Vietnam, and that'll be midnight over there. So we're trying to find the balance, and he was gracious enough to stay up late. Rufus had posted a spot that he did on the forum well over a month ago. It was like a first-person drone kind of thing that kind of flew through, portals and everything. It was amazing. So he's going to take us through that. On Sunday, January 30th, we were going to have Brian Bailey back on the show, and then we'll move into February. On Sunday, February 6th, Adam Taylor is going to take us through his one frame of white. That was the Render Dome Bandit. And on the 13th, we're going to have our very own David Kreitz on board to take us through one of his multimedia interactive installation projects. Thank you, David. If you haven't signed up for the forum, what are you waiting for? Head on over to forum.logic.tv and just be a part of the fun. And please remember to also join the conversation on Discord. Again, hopefully I'll be getting approval on that footage, maybe even today, if not Monday morning. And then this week I'm going to do a shot breakdown on Discord. This episode of Logic Live, including episode number 43, which is clearly Brooks' favorite, will be available on logic.tv. I released a new episode of the podcast this past week with Jeff Kyle. Definitely check that out if you can. We're going to be having podcast episodes released much more regularly. I want to give a huge shout of thanks to Glenn Teal from the forum, who not only asked, that was his kind of feedback, saying he loved the podcast, he'd love to get some episodes out more regularly, and he offered to help, with the edit and the post on them. So that should certainly help to get those out. So definitely check out Jeff's interview, and there'll be more podcasts coming your way. Randy, we're at 1.25 thousand subscribers on the YouTube page. So if you have any friends, if your kids have friends, please have them like and smash the subscribe button on our YouTube page. We want to get that number up so high that Randy will stop asking me about it. I want to thank again all of our patrons on Patreon. If you'd like to support what we're doing, head on over to patreon.com/LogicTV, and you can do things like join our Q&As, which we're going to jump onto right after this. Oops, forgot to fix that. The Logic merch store is open, but the discount code no longer works. I will fix that for next week. If you need tech support, please call Jack Horrocks, jack@flametech.com.au for all your needs. Save 15% on any Boris Effects product, standalone or subscription, when you use the code Logic-15 at checkout. Thank you, Boris, for always supporting the Logic community. Thank you, AJA, and thank you, Synesys. We couldn't do what we do without your support. That's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much, Brooks. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We're going to hop over to the patrons chat, and we'll see you next week, everybody. Have a great, great week.